की जय, बिंद्रावन बिहारी लाल की जय, आज शक्ति जगदम्बा देवी मैया की जय. Shubh Swagatam, a very warm, very cordial welcome to each and every one of you this morning who've taken the time to join us physically here at the Mandir as we engage in satsang. And for those persons who may be viewing us online, either on YouTube or on Facebook, we also extend a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. This morning, a very beautiful Sunday morning, we come together to offer our love, to offer our adorations to Bhagwan, to seek His continued blessing and guidance and inspiration. As we do so, whatever may be afflicting our minds, whatever may be impacting upon our psyche, we offer that to the feet of Bhagwan. As we stand this morning, I invite us all to gaze at the murtis before us. Whichever form of Bhagwan that you find most endearing, most appealing, I invite you to allow your gaze to dwell on that form. And as we go within, assuming that position of reverence, that prayerful attitude and demeanor, we begin with invocation this morning. Hari Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Om Shri Saraswate Namah. Om Shri Guru Charana Kamalebhyo Namah. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Guru Medeva Sarvakarishu Sarvara Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Sudha Namostute Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadguru Nagindraharaya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambharagaya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandramabhedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaye Pataye Namaha. Om Manojavam Marutatulivegyam Jetindriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Bhatatmajam Vanadiyutamukam Shri Ramadutam Shirashi Namami. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Behati, let us resume our seats as we join blending our voices together and glorifying Bhagwan.
Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. Mata Janki Parvati, Pita Mahadeva. Mata Janki Parvati, Pita Mahadeva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. Mata Janki Parvati, Pita Mahadeva. Mata Janki Parvati, Pita Mahadeva. Ek dant dayavant char bhujadhari. Ek dant dayavant char bhujadhari. Mathe sindur sohi musiki savari. Mathe sindur sohi musiki savari. Andhan ko aankh dekh ko dhin ko ka धन को पुत्र देत निर्धन को माया। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा। माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। पान चढ़ी फूल चढ़ी और चढ़ी मेवा। पान चढ़े फूल चढ़े और चढ़े मेवा। लदवन को भोग लगी संत करे सेवा। लदवन को भोग लगे संत करे सेवा। रिधि सीधी सात सोहि कार्तिकेय भ्राता। रिधि सीधी सात सो कार्तिकेय भ्राता। दीन जानी शरण राखे सुफल की जय सेवा। दीन जानी शरण सुफल की जय सेवा। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा। माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। माता जानकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा।
प्रेम से बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय. We continue as we glorify Bhagwan through the medium of Kirtan. Let us all blend our voices together as we continue in our glorification of Bhagwan.
श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधार। बरनो रघुबर विमल जसु जो दायक फल चार। बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार। बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार। जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान। जय 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 हनुमान जय 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 हनुमान। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर। जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर। राम दूत अतुलित बल धामा। अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा। महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी। कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी। कंचन वरण विराज सुवेशा। कानन कुंडल कुंजित केसा। ध्वजा विराजी आजी मूंज चली मूसाजी। शंकर सुवन केशरी नंदन। तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन। विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर। राम काज करिबे को आतुर। प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया। राम लखन सीता मन बसिया। जय 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 हनुमान। जय 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 हनुमान। जय सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा, विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा, भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे, रामचंद्र के काज सवारे, लाय संजीवन लखन जियाए, श्री रघुवीर हरषि उर लाए, रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई, तुम मम प्रिय भरतहि सम भाई, सहस बदन तुम्हरो यस गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे, सनकादिक ब्रह्मचारि मुनीषा, नारद शारद सहित अहीशा, यम कुबेर दिखपाल चाहते, कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते, तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीना, राम मिलाए राजपद दीना, तुम्हारी मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना, युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु, लील्योताहि मधुर फल जानु, नभो मुद्रिका मेरी मुख माही, जल लांघि गए अचरज नाही, दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे देते, राम दुआरी तुम रखवारी, हो जन आज्ञा दिन पैसारी, सब सुख है तुम्हारी शरणा, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना, आपन तेज सम्हारो आपे, तीनों लोक हांकते कांपे, भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे, नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा, संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे, सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, जिनके काज सकल तुम साजा, और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमृत जीवन फल पावे, चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा, साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे, अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता, राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा, तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे, अंत काल रघुपति पुर जाए, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई, और देवता चेतन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई, संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा, जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई, झूठ ही बंदी महासुख होई। जो यहाँ पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होई सीधी साधी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजे नाथ हृदय महादेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुरभूप। जय 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 हनुमान, 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 जय 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 हनुमान।
प्रेम से बोले श्री महावीर स्वामी की जय। Before we commence our pravachan this morning, we are approaching the celebration of Indian Arrival Day, which will take place on the 30th of this month, this Thursday. And as we recall fondly the contributions made by our foreparents, I'd invite us to render a few verses of Gita Dhyanam. I would ask the members of the group and also the members at the back if we can have the verses on screen, and members of the group if they can lead us with the first couple shlokas of Gita Dhyanam before we commence our pravachan. As we do so this morning, I invite us to gaze at the Murti of Krishna Bhagwan and to recall fondly the foreparents, our foreparents from our respective lineages, our foreparents who are no longer here with us, and also, as far as the mandir is concerned, we recall the contributors and founding fathers of this mandir and the efforts that they would have made in terms of making this place for us and allowing us to have the benefit of their toil. So let us sit upright, let us gaze at the Murti of Krishna Bhagwan as we join together. Hari Om Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata
नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनी अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धधामि भगवद्गीते भवेद्वेषिणी नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुलारविन्दाय पत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्ण प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणे ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो गोगा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु.
In that peaceful attitude and demeanor, we gaze at the murti of Krishna Bhagavan, that form that is most magnificent, that form that is most beautiful, that Prabhu that holds the basuri in his hand, his head adorned with a peacock feather, and wearing a most beautiful yellow dhoti. As we visualize that magnificent form of the Lord, we offer prayer and our pratna to Him for the blessings upon ourselves, for the blessings upon our families, for the blessings upon the Atma of all of our foreparents who have come to these shores and even before, whose toils and whose efforts, whose trials and tribulations, whose sacrifices have allowed us the opportunities that we so wonderfully have before us today. The vision of those foreparents in terms of their actions, in terms of their activities, in terms of their direction. And we pray to that Almighty God for the blessing upon each and every one of us. We chant as we see that most beautiful form of the Lord. We pray as we have that most beautiful form of the Lord in our heart. We surrender ourselves to that most omniscient, omnipotent being. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bolo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Slowly we open our eyes, gazing once more at that form of the Divine Being, rubbing our palms together up across our face, across our entire body, and retaining that divine energy. Prem se bole Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai. I'd like to invite the children now of the Bal Vihar class. Today, I believe, is Yoga Day, so we invite all of the children, all of the young ones, even those of you who may be with us for the first time, to please accompany your teachers downstairs to the Bal Vihar class. Prem se bole Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai. Jai Sitaram once more to each and every one of you. For those of you who would have come in after we began this morning, a very warm, a very cordial welcome to you all. And to those of you who are viewing us online once more, we extend Shubh Swagatam, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. For those of you who may be with us at the Mandir for the first time, for those of you who may be back with us after some period of absence, and for some of us who are here visiting with us from abroad, we extend a very warm welcome. This morning I want to extend special welcome to Dhruv and Rudra and to their mom Vidya as they've joined us here from a short visit from Canada, and I'm sure we'll be hearing you boys shortly with wonderful bhajan, so I'm putting you on notice. This morning, as we know, we are approaching, as I said, that celebration on Thursday of Indian Arrival Day. And our pravachan will be geared a little bit towards that celebration and about that remembrance and indeed the significance of it. Before we begin, however, once more we focus our mind to Krishna Bhagwan as we join our palms together and as we engage in one mantra. Hari Om Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulang Deyaki Kirim Yat Kripatamaham Mande Paramanannamamadavam Om Shri Krishnai Govindai Namo Namaha. This year marks 179 years since the first arrival of our foreparents to these shores. 179 years. When we celebrated the 150th anniversary, there was a very grand march and a grand celebration that culminated at Skinner Park. And some of us would have been around at that time. Some of you would not have been around or even imagined of at that time. And it indeed brought together persons from all quarters in terms of this grand celebration. There was then the declaration of the public holiday, Indian Arrival Day, and there was some wavering throughout the years about whether it should be renamed to Arrival Day or what have you. Still remains Indian Arrival Day. And the celebrations that are attributed to this particular event is one that has now consumed a large part of the country, but particularly in terms of cultural presentations, which we see prevalent throughout the country at this time, and that's not peculiar to this year. So we see or we witness, for example, various cultural performances, bhajan singing, classical singing, dance, and other things. We see culinary skills being displayed in terms of what our foreparents would have brought to this country. And very often the discussions go along the contributions that have been made by individuals in terms of various quarters of our activity, whether it be in the sphere of politics, whether it be in the sphere of developing our agricultural sector, whether it be in the sphere of academics and academia, whether it be in medicine, whether it be in law, and many other areas. We find individuals who would have been part of that lineage of East Indians who've come to this country, distinguishing themselves in all of the various fields and indeed holding offices and positions throughout the whole sphere of activity of this country. We also would have been spoken to about the efforts that were made by our foreparents in terms of our economy, and those efforts still put us where we are today in terms of having Trinidad and Tobago as a relatively prosperous country, as though and undoubtedly some of us may question that now in terms of the whole challenges that are facing us economically and otherwise. This morning, however, I want to focus a little bit more about the institutions that were founded by East Indians and which still hold a significant influence on our country. And it's important for younger people in particular to recognize the power of organizations and what organizations can do to either uplift and benefit a country or in a similar way that can cause some serious damage or harm to the entire population either in terms of deliberate activities or omissions. I say this in the context of what we've witnessed within recent times, and that is a sense of intolerance that has gripped our country, and that is exacerbated by the political machinations by our leaders and some organizations as well. And so yesterday's Guardian was quite interesting because there was an article written by Father Martin Sergiu. And Father Martin Sergiu is the cathedral administrator of the Roman Catholic Church, and he wrote in the Trinidad Guardian. And the title of his article was Monopoly of Truth, Violence. And it was rather an interesting article because he spoke to the prevalence now of the attacks that have been propagated on Hindu institutions, but not only Hindu institutions, but other institutions as well. So we're very much aware, or acutely aware, that within recent times, and unfortunately within the last couple of months, there have been some serious acts of vandalism that have taken place by persons who are unknown at this time, targeted towards Hindu institutions, and in particularly mandirs. For many of us here at the Krishna Mandir, this is something that we may find alien to us. It's not something that we're familiar with at all, particularly in San Fernando. But even with that belief, there are still some little things that occur here at the Mandir that many of us would not be aware of. So for those of you who perform puja and you go outside at the culmination of the puja to plant your jhandi, you would recognize that within recent times there has been some challenge in terms of what's happening there. And what we've witnessed is that persons would come in the nighttime, would reach over the fence, grab the jhandi, take it off, take the flag itself, toss it back into the compound, and then would make off with the bamboo. And that has been something that has occurred or has been occurring for a couple months well, and it is something that we've been dealing with in terms of that. So acts of vandalism are not completely alien to us, and we've not really brought it to the attention of any particular of the congregation. Now, in his article, Father Martin spoke about the impression that is created, maybe rightly, that these acts of vandalism can point to a deranged mind, a person who is mad or crazy, as he says. But then he also points out that mental illness itself is sometimes caused or contributed to by many things: homelessness, hopelessness, illiteracy, unemployment, underemployment, substance abuse, and other things. And those themselves are symptoms of a greater problem. So when we see persons, for example, who we say, oh, that's a vagrant or that's a homeless person, it is really that person representing a symbol of a greater problem. And that is the inequity that sometimes faces our society, the lack of opportunity of persons to either get an education or to sustain themselves. And when I say education, sometimes we are still thinking in the 1800s, upon which our education system is unfortunately modeled. And if a student doesn't fit within the four corners of that education curriculum and system, well, God help them, because they really will be tossed out, as sometimes is the case, because they do not fit within the mold, and if you don't fit, then the reality is you do not belong. So he goes on to say in his article, in his view, the desecration of sacred spaces has to do with fanaticism over a monopoly over religious truth. And I'll repeat that. The desecration of sacred spaces. So he's speaking about sacred spaces generally, and this includes not only mandirs, but there has been vandalism of churches, there have been vandalism of masjids and others. But unfortunately, the frequent and favorite attack seems right now to be mandirs. And he says it has to do with a fanaticism over a monopoly of religious truth. It seems to me, he says, that Hindus appear to be the victims more frequently than any other religious group. Now, as he goes on, and the article I will commend to you, this fanatical type of behavior comes to the crystallization of the belief that I am right and you are wrong, and because you are wrong, you have no right to exist. because you are preaching falsehood. So fanaticism comes to that belief that what I am practicing, my belief system is the only one. It is the only one that is right, and if you do not adhere or subscribe to it, then you are wrong. And if you are wrong, you do not deserve to exist. Now, these are not my words. These are the words written by Father Martin Sergio, and I thought it rather interesting because he concedes that the Roman Catholic Church was guilty of that, but has since reversed its position and has stopped that practice and that doctrine. In other words, the church itself, while it may have engaged in that practice, has recognized that that is not the way. He himself says that in the Bible, the quote by Jesus Christ, or of Jesus Christ, that he's the way, the truth, and the light, doesn't say that I am the only way. I am the only truth. And that is where we have a problem with fanatics interpreting things and doing things that are really suitable to their own agenda and to their own particular practice. And it is not something that is sanctioned. If one looks at Scripture closely, it is not something that is sanctioned. He says, and he goes on, Hindus are accused, and I don't know where he got the number from, but I'm just quoting him. Hindus are accused of worshipping 33 million gods. He says, well, since there are over 2 billion Christians in the world, and we all understand Jesus differently, I suppose there are over 2 billion Jesuses as well. So Christians are far worse in terms of that belief and practice. Now, why I'm saying this is that Father Martin Sergio is of East Indian parentage. His foreparents would have come from India. And very often, sometimes there's the misnomer that when we speak of Indian Arrival Day, it is Hindu Arrival Day. And that is not the case. Indian Arrival Day encompasses all cultures, all traditions of persons who are of East Indian heritage. We must recognize that and we must appreciate that. And we must recognize as well in that vein that there are organizations in this country that have emerged as a result of that heritage. So for a religious purpose, for example, a large body of the Presbyterian Church is founded upon East Indians. If you look at many of the churches, there are parts of the churches in terms of its name that are written in Hindi, because the persons who propagated the Presbyterian Church were our foreparents, those who were of that tradition, or those who were converted to that tradition, and many were. In a similar vein, our Muslim brothers and sisters also are part of the diaspora. Those are the persons who would have come from India as well. And the Ashja, that is an organization that has been around for decades, TML, are two examples of Muslim organizations that have been around and that have done a significant part for their community and their tradition. As far as Hinduism goes, there is a large body of organizations, and one uppermost on that would be the Sanatana Dharma Mahasabha. That body or that organization has been around for many, many decades, as well as we have other organizations such as Swaha and others. In addition to that, we have within several decades ago the National Council of Indian Culture, the NCIC, which is another organization. And I say that because, again, many of us equate the NCIC with only Hindu practice, and it's not. National Council of Indian Culture. Indian culture incorporates a very broad spectrum. And so it's important for us to recognize these institutions. And why I'm saying this in the context of Father Sergio's article is because sometimes, deliberately or otherwise, inadvertently, that message about I am right and you are wrong, and if you are wrong, you cannot exist, finds its way into other quarters of society apart from mere religion. It finds itself particularly when politics is on the ascendancy because of an election, a general election, an internal election, a by-election. You see all of this nonsense coming out in terms of this kind of underlying and undertow. And we see it perpetrating our society to the extent that many persons become mindless followers of fanatics. And if you ask the question, well, why are you following this particular trend and so on, there really is no justification for it. It is because I'm influenced to doing it. And if you were to question whether that is a good thing or not, the salient principles, the answer very often is no. And so it is important for us as individuals to be possessed of our senses when we are called upon to make decisions and to follow trends which are really not desirable. It is important for us to do that, to move away from the concept of I am right, you are wrong, and therefore you cannot exist because you are wrong. Once we start behaving that way, intolerance creeps in. And intolerance has no place in a society that is multicultural, that is multi-ethnic, and that is what is Trinidad and Tobago. And that is the beauty of this country. You can have a masjid, a church, and a mandir side by side existing peacefully. I know many older persons that would speak to me and say, listen, yes, I am Hindu, but I've been to the mosque. And I would pray with my Muslim brothers and sisters, or I would be to the church, I would go to Sunday school. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with appreciating each other's culture and practice. We're not speaking about conversion, but we are speaking about appreciation, going beyond the word tolerance. And I've repeatedly said that in our national watchwords of discipline, tolerance, and production, the word tolerance deserves no space there, because tolerance speaks about something that is different from appreciation. And appreciation should really be the substituted word, especially in a country like ours. So when we think about institutions and organizations, these institutions which have had their longevity because of the ability to harmoniously exist with each other. As much as Sat Maharaj and Yaqub Ali would have had their differences, they would not come and attack each other, because they recognized as founders and as champions of the religious bodies that there is a space and a place for each body. And it works in harmony. And so that is something that is slowly being eroded. And it is important for us as young persons, not myself, but the younger ones, to appreciate the need for that sense of harmony and that sense of community. Because of our parents who came on the various boats that brought them here, that were in the barracks that hosted them, did not have that level of animosity and acrimony. There was that sense of appreciation for each other, noting the differences, but still being able to put aside differences and live harmoniously. I think I can hardly find someone who's a Hindu that does not celebrate Christmas. Many Hindus would have their homes emblazoned with lights and Christmas trees far more than on a Diwali, because that's just how we knew it. And we had no problem telling somebody, Merry Christmas. But you dare not do that in Canada. You have to say Happy Holidays, because that sense of appreciation is lost. It's a different culture. It's a different environment. Thankfully, we still have that here. So when we greet people in December, we say Merry Christmas. I don't tell anybody Happy Holidays. Merry Christmas. And you find Christian brothers and sisters telling you, Shubh Diwali. There's nothing wrong with that. When there's Ramadan and it culminates and there's Eid, we have everyone telling each other, Eid Mubarak. Again, nothing is wrong with that. It's a sense of appreciation, because when you look at the fundamental truths of all traditions, they preach the same thing. Be good and do good. There are many other amplifications of that statement, but that's essentially what it preaches. Everyone, be good and do good. But for those individuals who choose to go linear in scriptures and then misinterpret it and twist it to suit their own particular purposes, that's when we have problems. And from the time you start pitting one individual against the other, that's when you start having a decay. And so our curriculum in this country does not afford ourselves the opportunity to appreciate each other in a meaningful way. And it's unfortunate because it's becoming more and more rigid. So even in schools that were run by particular denominational boards and which had that sense of harmony, that sense of appreciation, it is sad to say now that that is now dying. You have the reality that if you are not of a particular denomination, you cannot be employed as a teacher in a particular school, and that is absolute nonsense. It is nonsense. If you want to have a private-run school which is totally funded privately, no problem, you set your own policies. But once you are using taxpayers' dollars to run schools and pay salaries, you cannot tell me that that is correct. You cannot tell me that's correct. There's no equity, there's no merit in that. If you want to say your upper echelons of your administration must have a certain kind of qualification or criteria, that's different. But you cannot tell me that you cannot be employed as a teacher because you do not follow a particular faith. And that's where we are now. And many of us don't realize that. So it means to say that our institutions are themselves succumbing to this fanaticism of I am right and you are wrong. And if you are wrong, you cannot exist. And that is not the way to build a society. That is absolutely not the way to build a society. So it's therefore no wonder that we are having so much persons being dysfunctional, because in that vein, if I'm a Hindu and I go to a particular school because of circumstance, because of proximity, geographically or otherwise, and that particular school is not run in the same tradition that I've been brought up in, then crap will smoke my pipe. Because I cannot then in any way exhibit a practice that is in keeping with my tradition. I've seen within recent times persons say, you know, Pandita, I wear a raksha when I go to school. They will tell me to cut it off. And that should never be. It should never be. So those are some of the things I want our younger people to appreciate, because our foreparents didn't behave that way. That's the irony of it. When things were simple and things were humble and people were each other's keeper, we did not behave that way. Yes, you had the individuals, the exceptions to the rule, but it was not the norm. I would have my sewain for Eid, and somebody would have prasad for Puja and Diwali. You didn't have anybody telling you at that point in time, you know, I can't eat prasad, you know, that's devil food. Utter nonsense. And that has been propagated by individuals with a very selfish agenda. And we must not reciprocate that sense of selfishness. Hindus are broader than that. We are broader than that, but we must be strong in our conviction and we must understand it. So while we are flexible, we remain firmly moored in our traditions, because our tradition says, Ekam Sat, the truth is one, Bipra Bhadu Badanti. Wise persons know that truth by different ways. And now when our young people become disenchanted by what is happening, they give you the buzzword, well, you know what, I'm not following the religion, I'm a spiritual person. What does that mean? Well, I don't believe in anyone, whatever I believe in these things, but where are you going to get that belief system from? You must believe in something, you must stand for something, otherwise you stand for nothing. And any form of spirituality is grounded on a particular tradition and practice. Spirituality is not something you could learn, it is something that you must practice. And if on a Sunday morning I want to be spiritual by lying down in my bed, that's not spirituality. You need to find yourself in a place that harnesses and promotes that level of spirituality and understanding, so that when you are tested, as testing will come, you are able to stand the test. When challenges come your way, as they will, you will have that power and that strength to understand the challenges and to accept the challenges, but to find solutions for them. There's no one person amongst us that does not face a challenge. You see somebody sitting next to you and you have no idea what their challenges are. You don't. because they may be smiling, they may seem absolutely normal, but there's so many things going on in their mind or in their lives that you have no clue. And when faced with those challenges, what do? And that is where our religious practice comes in. For Hindus, the coming and performing your daily practices, from the time you get up in the morning, and this is hammered home as a Hindu, from the time your eyes open, your first directed thought should be not your phone. Your first directed thought should be towards God. And then you continue on after you've had your bath and so on. Your next formal directed thought is your offering of jal. Your performance of a brief puja or lengthy puja, depending upon how much time prevails. During the course of the day, your japping of your mantra. All of those are Hindu practices. And in fortifying yourself that way, you perform your duties towards lower life forms, towards the study of your scriptures, towards saints and sages, towards your parents, towards all of those things. That's really what our Panchamaha Yajna is about. The 5 daily practices that we must all do as Hindus. So our foreparents would have brought that rich tradition. The institutions that developed would have developed along the lines of those practices. But our institutions themselves are being fractured. And we must understand that and understand why those fractures are occurring. And when you yourselves get into positions of leadership, to understand that there is strength in unity, you must always be prepared to be a little fish in a big pond than to be a big fish all by yourself in a little pool of water. Because some people don't understand the difference. And that is important, and I say that in the context of the pride that I have in this mandir. This mandir that was formed through the foresight of our foreparents in the late 40s, early 50s, and which remains a vibrant mandir in this country in the year 2024. That is not something that was easily done. That came from the toils and efforts of a few, and that mushroomed into the efforts of many. And if we do what we're supposed to do right, there'll be even more. I was not always here. I will not always be here. Nobody who is sitting here right now will be here forever. But what do we do while we are here? How do we form, nurture, and grow this institution that is the Krishna Mandir so that in the next 50 years, when somebody else is standing here and celebrating the 200th anniversary of East Indian arrival, they will say, yes, the Mandir has grown as an institution. It has blossomed. It has done more. And those are the things that are the challenges before us. Not from a sense that I am right and you are wrong. And if you are wrong, you should not exist. That's why that kind of belief system is why our crime situation is where it is today. So there are many things that could be said, but I will stop. But I want us, when we celebrate Indian Arrival Day, as we celebrate this occasion of 179 years, to reflect a little bit and think of it more than just a holiday. Or in this year, a long double holiday, because Corpus Christi just happens to fall on Thursday as well. So we get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we forget about what is the purpose of these occasions. Indian Arrival Day wasn't always a public holiday for the younger ones, just say. All right, and it is important for us to remember that. So there are many organizations that will be having festivals. The Mahasabha will be having its annual parade, I believe, Mr. Vice Chairman, yes, from Ramsamujh Trace in Debe, going straight down to the ground opposite the Parvati College. I forget the name of the ground, but you all know where it is. St. Paul's ground, right, opposite the college. So they'll be having that on the 30th, and persons are invited to attend and participate in the parade and the cultural presentation that will take place thereafter. And there are many others. NCIC is having theirs and others. So please take part. There's one final thing I want to speak to. before we go back to the group and invite you to perform Arti. So I've been served. Last Sunday, we held the AGM of the Mandir. And again, that just shows you about the building of the institution and institutional capacity. This is a Mandir that has an annual general meeting every single year. It's unfortunate that many persons didn't stay, but I'm alerting you to what transpired. So apart from the election of individuals, and again, persons were elected to serve on the management committee for a term of 1 year, and then the AGM will be held again on the 3rd Sunday of May next year. So you could put that in your diary or calendar, and please make the effort to attend. One of the things that has been done at the Mandir is the accounting for the finances of the Mandir. And unfortunately, one of the things that was presented was the fact for the last year, we ran at a deficit, meaning that we spent more money in the Mandir and its activities than your RT or your donations or collections actually yielded for us. And we were short by just about 50,000, Madam Treasurer. Yes, by about that. And the main contributor to that was the fact that some vandals thought it fit that the air conditioning units and the copper in it suited their purposes better. And units were vandalized, and we had to replace 3 of the units, 5-ton units. And the expenditure on that was over $40,000 alone. Right? So when we sit here on a Sunday morning and it's nice and cool and we're not facing the heat and so on, these are the reasons why your expenditure goes that way, in addition to other things that we do in terms of charitable initiatives and so on. So as a result of that in the past, and we recognize that we always had to have a fundraiser every year to bolster what was happening. Last year, we had a joint fundraiser with the Sri Sivak Sabha, which was the Diwali dinner. That was more of a social event because it was meant to bring the community together, and it really didn't yield any kind of plausible funds that would assist us. So what we are having now would be our Bhajan Sangam, which will be held on the 7th of July from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And how the Bhajan Sangam works is that we are going to have various individuals and various groups throughout that time period who will be coming and rendering devotional bhajans and other items. And we are asking you to contribute towards that initiative. So the contributions are ostensibly in the form of a donation. Right? So there are different sheets that have been prepared. They will look like this. They have the signatures of the chairman and the treasurer, and they are numbered so that you have authenticity. And you will place the name of the individual, their email address, phone number, and contribution on the sheet. And those contributions will be accounted for, and you will be advised of the collection. If you draw your gaze, for example, to the front, you will see a refurbishment that was done to the Beatty area, and other improvements continue to be done through your kind donations. If you look upwards at the ceiling, I just want you all to look firstly here. See how nice this looks? Anybody doesn't like how it looks? Right. Now I want you to look at the lighting fixtures on the side. On both sides, look at it well. Nice. I hate how they look, right? So that is something that we've been trying to address, but there's a cost factor and there's a supply factor in terms of the units, and we are trying to raise funds to deal with that. And unbeknownst to you, we also have some engineering structural problems to the back of the Mandir. There are certain huge cracks that we need to address, and we need to address it as of yesterday because it will cause certain structural problems. So many things we come to the Mandir. So when we walk through the gate, we see the beautiful garden that Uncle Ajoda and Mrs. Agram Singh does, and I'm sure they deserve a round of applause. They do a tremendous job. We come inside and we see the areas kept clean by a pujari, all of the beedi and everything, and the diyas and talis are all lovely and all of that. But these are things that require money, and it requires effort to be able to do all of these things. When you come, you know your vehicle is secured because there's a security guard outside, and we allow for that. So all of these things cost money. We know what our electricity bill at our homes are. Just think about electricity bills at the Mandir. And just by way of information, religious places, we attract a commercial rate. There's no exceptions to it. So that's just the kind of thing that we're dealing with. And when the property tax comes in, well, God help us. But anyway, we require your contribution. And I would urge everyone present to take at least one sheet. It has 10 spaces in it. And each space, you will put the name of the contributor or donor, if it is possible. And note the words, because we do understand that it is a challenging financial time. But if it is possible to get a donor or a family to donate $100 per line item, so that would mean each sheet would yield $1,000, then we would really appreciate it. If, however, a person's financial circumstance means they could only give $20 or $10, that's fine. Every dollar counts. So please do not negate any contribution by any means. And in the same vein, if somebody says, hey, you know what, I just win the lotto, I will give you guys, you know, $10,000 or $100,000, please accept it, right? Make sure it's coming from a proper source, because there are certain individuals, obviously. So members of the 6s and 7s, we don't want any donations from them. Others we will take, right? So that kind of thing, please ensure that it's properly recorded so that we will have it. And we really do appreciate and appeal for your generosity. I can't overemphasize how important it is, because other than that, we have no other source of income coming in, right? And that is what we use to donate and so on. As we appealed a couple of weeks ago for you, and some of you did contribute, for a young mother that is having serious medical issues, had surgery, and is needing ongoing treatment that costs a lot of money. Some of you responded, and the Mandir is matching that, and a check is being issued today to the medical institution that is providing that treatment, so it could assist that person in being restored to health. It's a young mother, and her children really depend on her. So that's the kind of activity that is done, and it's done in your name. These are your funds. It's accounted for. It was accounted for last week Sunday, and whatever you give, we treat it very, very preciously, and we make sure that we account for all of the funds that have been given. So thank you all very much in advance. You will have our vice chairman and chairman now coming with envelopes, so you could take one, which has one sheet in it, or you could take more than one if you so choose, and please return them. I am number one, not because of any number, but because I got it first. So thank you all very much. You're invited now to come forward and to offer your arti, individuals and families, while I hand over to Dhruv is at the harmonium, and Rudra is there as they render for us beautiful bhajans. So please direct your attention. Jai Sitaram.
Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Raghukul Ram 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 Shri Ram 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 Jai रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय राम राम राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम राम राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम राम राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। परि सा ग सा ग म प ग म प नि प नि प म प ग म प नि प म ग म प म ग म ग सा। परि सा ग परि सा ग परि सा ग परि सा ग। श्री राम जय राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय राम राम राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम राम राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम राम राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम राम राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। श्री राम 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 जय जय राम 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 राम। सीता राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। रघुकुल राम 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 रघुकुल राम राम राम। जन्म सफल होगा रे बंधे। मन में राम बसा ले। मन में राम बसा ले। बोलो राम जय जय राम। बोलो राम। 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 जन्म सफल होगा रे बंदे। मन में राम बसा ले। मन में राम बसा ले। बोलो राम जय जय राम। बोलो राम। बोलो राम जय 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 राम बोलो राम। राम पतित पावन करुणा कर और सदा सुख दाता। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। हे राम पतित पावन करुणा कर और सदा सुख दाता। सरस सुहावन अति मन पावन राम से प्रीत लगाले। मन में राम बसाले। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। 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 मोह माया है झूठा बंधन त्याग उसे तू प्राणी। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। हे मोह माया है झूठा बंधन त्याग उसे तू प्राणी। नाम की ज्योत जला कर अपना भाग जगा ले। मन में राम बसा ले। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। राम भजन में डूब के अपनी निर्मल कर ले काया। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। ओ राम भजन में डूब के अपनी निर्मल कर ले काया। राम नाम से प्रीत लगा कर जीवन पार लगा ले। मन में राम बसा ले। बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम। 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 बोलो राम जय जय राम बोलो राम।
Testing, 1, 2.
मांग मागतो मी आता, मागतो आता तुझ, मागतो मी आता, मागतो आता मज द्यावे एक दर्णता तुझ, मागतो मी आता, मागतो आता तुझ, मागतो मी आता, मागतो मी आता तुझ, मागतो मी आता. माझी भक्ती तुझे आई, माझी भक्ती विरुधाई गणपती, विरुधाई गणपती तुझे ठाई, ज्याची प्रीती त्याची घडावी संगती, संगती त्याची घडावी संगती, आ धरणी धरायसे द्यावे, धरणी धरायसे द्यावे, सर्वभूती लीन व्हावे, तुझ शरण 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 आलो पतित मी जाण, पतित जाण आलो पतित मी जाण. तुझ अपराधी मी खरा, तुझ अपराधी मी खरा, आहे क्षुचाप धरा, माझी उडे करुणा, तुझ लागी गजानना, गजानना तुझ लागी गजानना, गजानना मज ध्यावे एक दंता तुझ, मागतो मी आता, मागतो आता तुझ, मागतो मी आता, मागतो मी आता तुझ, मागतो मी आता, मागतो आता तुझ, मागतो मी आता, मागतो आता तुझ, मागतो मी आता, मागतो आता तुझ, मागतो मी आता.
गजानंद महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन की तैयारी है, गजानंद महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन की तैयारी है। आओ आओ मेघा आओ, छावदा रस को आड़ी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन की तैयारी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो। हे आवो जग काम बनेला, पर मारी पाजी है। रनत भवर गण बाला सुन लो, चिंता मानी लागी है। करो मत ना कर साओ, शरणा अरज ये माड़ी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन की तैयारी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो। रिद्धि सिद्धि संग आओ विनायक, देव रस धारा बगता में। भोग लगावा भोग लगावा, पुष्प चढ़ावा चरना में। गजानन धारा हाथ थामे, अब तो लाज हमारी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन गीत तैयारी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो। भगता की तो विनती सुन ली, शिव सुत प्यारो आयो है। जय जयकार करो गणपति की, मारो मन हर्षायो है। बरसेगा अब रस कीर्तन में, भगतो महिमा भारी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन गीत तैयारी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन गीत तैयारी है। आओ आओ मेघा आओ, चावदा रस को हाड़ी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन की तैयारी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो, कीर्तन की तैयारी है। गजानन महाराज पधारो।
Sitaram. Sitaram devotees. First of all, welcome to our Sunday morning service. For those of you who are here for the first time, special welcome to you, and special welcome to anyone who is back from some period of absence. It's very lovely to hear the voices of Dhruv and Rudra here this morning. They were excellent. Special happy birthday and happy anniversary to anyone celebrating these occasions. Special happy birthday to our Pujari, Anil, who will be celebrating his birthday this week. If anyone wishes to make donations to the temple, whether it be in cash or kind, can see Uncle Gangadin to the office to the back after service. And for those of you who wish to perform puja on a Sunday morning, can also see them in the back after service. There'll be yoga class tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. right here at the annex. So for those of you who are interested, can let Uncle Mukesh know. It will be here at 5:30 tomorrow afternoon. This evening, the youth group will be hosting a fitness fusion event where I think they'll put up the graphic just now, but it's essentially we'll be having a football sweat and some Zumba, right? We have a certified Zumba instructor in our midst, and she'll be doing the Zumba class this evening. It will be right at the SSL compound on Sutton Street for 5 p.m. this afternoon. So it's for all ages, young, old, anything in between. Come out this evening, 5 o'clock. We'll be playing some football and we'll have the Zumba as well, right? The Zumba is not only for the ladies, anybody can participate in the Zumba as well, right? So as you all heard about the Bhajan Amrit earlier on, just a reminder, it will be on July 7th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. For those of you who wish to do so, donation sheets can be collected to the back in the office after service. And Saturday, the 1st of June, we'll be having Hanumanji Puja right here in temple. For those of you who wish to sit for puja, can come for 7:30. And those of you, even if you are not sitting for puja, you are also invited to attend as well. So that's Saturday, 1st of June for 7:30 a.m. All right, Sitaram, enjoy the rest of the week.
We stand for Arti and then closing prayer. I also want to extend a special welcome to Amelia, who is visiting us after some period of absence, or one devotee who used to be with us very regularly until she moved abroad. So welcome, Amelia.
Om Jai Jagadish Hari Swami Jai Jagadish Hari Bhakt Jano ki sankat Das Jano ki sankat क्षण में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरे दुनिया में फल पावे दुख बिन से मन का स्वामी दुख बिन से मन का सुख संपत्ति घर सुख संपत्ति घर आवे कष्ट मिटे तन का ओम जय जगदीश हरे माता पिता तुम मेरे शरण गहो किसकी स्वामी शरण गहो किसकी बिन और न दूजा तुम बिन और न दूजा आश करो जिसकी ओम जय जगदीश हरे तुम पूर्ण परमात्मा तुम अंतर्यामी सेवक तुम स्वामी, हम सेवक तुम स्वामी, कृपा करो भरता। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, तुम हो एक अगोचर सबके प्राणपति, स्वामी सबके प्राणपति। किस विधि मिलो दया है, किस विधि मिलो दया है, तुम हो मैं कुमति। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, दीन बंधु दुख हरता, तुम रक्षक मेरे, स्वामी तुम रक्षक मेरे। अपने हाथ उठाओ, अपने हाथ उठाओ, द्वार पर आ तेरे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे, स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे। भक्त जनों के संकट, दास जनों के संकट, क्षण में दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
Hari Om. As we conclude our satsang and our puja this morning, we surrender ourselves completely to you, Prabhu. We recognize that you are all merciful, you are all powerful, you are omniscient, omnipresent. Through you, all things are possible. For those persons who may be facing some level of difficulty, medically, mentally, financially, emotionally, or otherwise, we ask you to shower your blessings upon them. For those persons who may have lost a loved one, we ask you to provide them with that strength and that solace that is required to see them through this difficult time. For those individuals who are engaged in acts of criminality and deviant behavior, we ask you, Prabhu, to redirect their mind and their actions to bring them closer to you. For you, O Lord, are mother, you are father, you are family, you are friend, you are knowledge, you are wealth, you are everything to us. We surrender ourselves completely to you. Hari Om. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Seka Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Satu Ma Sargamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. प्रेम से बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, आज शक्ति जगदम्बा देवी मैया की जय, श्री पवन पुत्र हनुमान की जय। प्रेम से बोले श्री सच्चे सनातन धर्म की जय। Chant around you सबको जय जय सीताराम. Have a very safe, very powerful week ahead. We look forward to seeing you all with us on Saturday coming, and again this evening as well for the activities hosted by the youth group. Jai Sitaram everyone.
बार बार दिन ये आए